Ladies and gentlemen, we just got a recession red alert, and the jobs data that we just got proves that the Federal Reserve is already too late. The latest ADP jobs report shows that 32,000 jobs were shed in November, the highest amount in years. Now, every financial headline that I'm seeing right now is all focused on the 32,000 jobs that were lost. Or they're saying, oh, the labor market is cooling, or the Fed will probably cut rates next week. But what if I told you the headline number is actually a massive distraction? Well, holy smokes, everyone. I had to take off my jacket. I couldn't believe what I just saw. As I was actually editing this video, we got this breaking report from CNBC, which I'm going to go down in this report of what's happening in the ADP jobs report. But there was 1.1 million layoffs in 2025. This is the worst since the pandemic when the whole world was shut down. So you really need to pay attention to what I talk about in this video because we got breaking news that show it's actually far worse. What the jobs market is missing and what they're desperately hoping you don't connect is that the job shock wasn't a sudden isolated event. It is proof that a much larger, more dangerous economic shift is already underway. And this latest jobs report is a smoking gun of a consumer time bomb that's about to explode. So in today's video, I'm going to connect the dots, the data points that the mainstream media separates, and I've broken down hundreds of reports of like this to show you the real economic truth, not the simplified headline. So everyone, you know what time it is. Let's get straight into the news, the facts, and the data. Well, okay, look at this, everyone. Like I said, payrolls at US companies fell by the most since 2023. So let's dive a bit deeper into this report. So there's three signals in this report, and I'm going to add some other reports to bring the whole picture together of what's really happening in the economy. One is the small business canary, the consumer time bomb, and the Fed's data blind spot. So stick around because the implications for your savings, your investments are going to be massive. You're definitely going to need to know exactly how to prepare for what's coming and position yourself to actually make money from the situation. So let's first start with where the jobs went. This is a small business canary in the coal mine, and it's the strongest indicator that we are already in a recession. Because like I said, the total job loss was 32,000, but that number masks a war that's going on right now between small businesses and large corporations. Because small businesses with fewer than 50 employees, listen to this is going to blow your mind, shed a staggering 120,000 jobs. This is the largest small business contraction for small businesses since the pandemic in May 2020. But conversely, big companies actually added 90,000 jobs. So what we're seeing is a complete K-shaped economy. The middle class is getting absolutely wiped out. Small mom and pop businesses are declaring bankruptcy at record pace, while the big, huge AI companies, the Magnificent Seven, start to become huge monopolies. Now this split is critical because big firms, they had the cash reserves to weather the storm, but small mom and pop operators, the earliest indicator of shifts in consumer sentiment, well, they're crumbling under the weight of high interest rates, cautious spending, and when the smaller ships like this start sinking this fast, well, the whole fleet is in danger. Now, the small business collapse is a canary, then this next piece of data is a consumer time bomb. Now, you won't hear about this on the news, but the evidence is undeniable. Americans are pulling back spending faster than ever, and this is going to lead to more job cuts. Because look at this next report, consumer confidence hit its lowest point since April as job worries grow. So the Conference Board Consumer Confidence Index for November collapsed to its lowest level since April. More critically, the Expectations Index, the gauge that signals future recessions, has been below the recession signaling threshold for 10 consecutive months. So consumers are not just feeling bad now, they expect things are going to get worse. Now, this Gallup poll confirms fear is translating directly into spending. So as of November, Americans slashed their projected average holiday spending estimated by over $200 in a single month. The most vulnerable low-income earners cut their planned spending by nearly 40%. So this is not a slowdown, ladies and gentlemen. This is an all-out spending freeze. And the reason why we have to pay so much close attention to this is because the US consumer makes up 70% of the US economy. So with small businesses announcing more and more layoffs, and those workers that are remaining working right now are cutting their holiday spending, this creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of a recession or a self-reinforcing downward spiral that's already locked in. So this now takes us to point 3, which could be the most important point, and that is the Fed's blind spot. So treasuries inch higher as traders continue to bet on a December rate cut. So now all this pressure is squarely on the Fed's shoulders, and they're stepping into their final critical meeting of the year with a massive data problem. And the reason for that is because the White House says October jobs report and inflation data may never be released because of the shutdown. And this is absolutely crazy. This is unprecedented. It's never happened in the US before. And we're starting to see this more and more when things don't go the way that they like. They simply manipulate the data. But now they're just straight up saying, no, we're not going to release the data at all. Because the Fed has to balance the slowing job market and curbing inflation. But this ADP report just made that balancing act nearly impossible. So the Fed is essentially flying blind, forced to give one negative report more weight than they normally would. Second, wages are cooling. For workers who changed jobs, wage growth slowed to 6.3%, the lowest since early 2021. For job staying, it's a mere 4.4%, a signal that companies have stopped competing aggressively for labor. So what this is now leading to is there's an 87% chance that the Federal Reserve will cut in December. But there's a very, very big problem for the Fed. If they continue to cut, well, we're going to see more and more inflation. But if they don't cut, we're going to see more and more layoffs, and this recession potentially turning into a prolonged recession or a depression. And the reason why they're in this hard place is because the government and the central banks didn't fix the fundamental problems. They just kept kicking the can down the road, and now we're heading to all-out stagflation. That is where we have high unemployment while inflation is still very, very high. But what I've learned from history is that the government and the Federal Reserve always takes the easiest option, and that is print, baby, print. What this is going to lead to, your savings in your bank account is going to be devalued, your wages are not going to keep up with inflation, and with the regional banks so unstable right now, a financial crisis is looking likely. Now, if you're wanting to know more about how to protect yourself against this coming crisis, or even profit from this crisis, or should I say more like wealth preservation to protect your wealth for yourself and for your family and for your future, well, I'm having an 80% discount off my course right now, the Trinity Portfolio, where I teach you everything you need to know about gold, silver, and Bitcoin investing to create a safe haven hedge against this coming crisis. I'm only going to be doing this sale for maybe 24 more hours, but the best thing about this course is it'll give you direct access to me. Only my students can email me and ask me questions. I simply don't have time to reply to everybody's email, but if you enroll in this course, I will reply. Because people, gold and silver has been the best performing assets this year in 2025, and I think 2026 is going to be even bigger. So go ahead, click the link in the description or the pinned comment and use code SILVER at checkout to get that 80% discount. So okay people, I know what you're thinking, well, what does all this mean in simple terms? Well, let's quickly summarize. We had small businesses slash 120,000 jobs. Consumers are going to be cutting back on their holiday spending. And third, the Federal Reserve is going to be flying blind. So I think they're going to make a huge policy mistake, and we're going to see more inflation and more of this crazy market melt up that we've been seeing. So everyone, what you need to be doing right now to protect yourself is paying off all high interest rate debt. So if you do lose your job, you'll be in a much better position. Then once you've paid off that high interest rate debt, you need to start building an emergency fund like you've never done it before, because we're about to enter times we've never been in before. Then once you do have that emergency fund of 3 to 6 months, then you need to start investing in inflation hedge assets like gold, silver, Bitcoin. Not financial advice, just what I'm doing right now. Bitcoin, I think we're going to be heading into a bear market. So I think there will be much better buying opportunities for Bitcoin in maybe 3 to 6 months. So I would potentially hold off for right now. And then what else you need to do, there's no other way around this. You need to start a side hustle. You could start a YouTube channel. You could figure out whatever skill you have and find a way to monetize it. Or you could simply work overtime at work or do Uber or DoorDash or something. Because what happens during every recession is people aren't prepared. They lose their job. They have to sell their assets for a loss instead of being in the position to not have to panic and to be able to buy assets for pennies on the dollar. But everyone, what do you think about all of this? Let me know down below. Now, for all my loyal viewers and subscribers still watching, you're awesome. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.